Hello and welcome to Courtside with the Ashland University men's basketball team, brought to you by the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department. I'm Miles Irvin and I am joined by head coach John Ellenwood. Coach, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
To jump right into it, this past weekend the team played the first two home games of the season. You guys ended up splitting the two games against Miami Middletown and IUP. But before we get into those games, how did it feel to be back on your home floor for the first time this year?
It's always fun to get back home. We started the season off on a great road win at Grand Valley, which is always a tough game. But anytime you can play in front of your family, friends, and crowd, it's always a good feeling.
So the first home game this past Saturday, a dominating win for you guys against the Thunderhawks, 100-49. And you guys really showed out on both sides of the floor. What stood out to you the most from that game?
Our bench was the thing that stood out probably the most, and I think our big guy Maceo had a perfect game, which is always something that's very difficult to do no matter who the opponent is. But that game for us we're trying to get some confidence for some guys early in the season against a team that we should beat if we play the way everything should go. But we wanted to get some guys some minutes, so hopefully down the road those guys can give us something in some bigger games.
Yeah, absolutely. And Maceo, you talk about him going perfect from the field. He's been incredibly efficient so far, 3 games in. Also the game-winning shot a week ago against Grand Valley State. What have you thought of his play so far? He's
been dominant, and I think he's the best player in our league this year. I think he's going to have one of those seasons for us. So I think he's just putting himself. He's kind of built himself up from a freshman year where he was a role player, and learned to play his role really well. Now his role is to be our leader, and be that guy that can we can get the ball to and just make a play for us.
Yeah, certainly excited he'll be on later in the show. But you already mentioned getting your bench some extra minutes, having a big lead at halftime kind of gave you the leeway to give your starters some rest, give your bench an extra run there. How important could that be for later in the season? Not only your starters getting the early rest, but your bench getting that early run out there.
Yeah, well, some positions, we don't have a lot of depth at. And so for us to be able to rest guys, I mean, you got 5 practices a week, sometimes 6, just depending on the week, and you have games that are hard fought. Some of your guys that don't have as much depth in those positions need rest. So it's important to be able to develop that bench where you can trust those players on both ends of the floor, so they can fill in for that depth problem that you have. So that's really what we're trying to do right now in that game, and especially after halftime. We wanted to make sure that we could get some guys some minutes, just in case we had to put somebody in a crucial game on the road in a league play game, and all of a sudden you got foul trouble or somebody gets hurt. You don't want it to be a foreign situation for those players. So any game experience with the lights on and fans and scoreboards and referees, anytime that those guys can get in there and learn from those situations, the better your team's going to be later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, moving on to Sunday's game, obviously a tough loss at the end against IUP, 75-72. You guys got off to a good start, had a double-digit lead in the first half. What do you think changed for you guys in the second half?
Well, we didn't come out of the locker room real well to start the second half. I thought we played, a very, very solid, for any time of the year, a solid first half. I mean, we shot nearly 70% from the field. We just kind of had them on that edge of maybe they're about to fold, and they're a great team. I mean, IUP is traditionally a top 10 team in the country, and they've been doing a couple national championship games in the past 15 years. So they're no slouch program. They have a lot of pride. They have great players. So you knew they weren't going to quit. But I think the thing that we just lost our momentum going into coming out of the locker room at halftime, and things can change quick, especially when they have some really good shooters like they had. They got back in the game quickly, and that started out at the first part of the game too. We got up big, and then honestly, like, we went to our bench, and once we went to that bench, all of a sudden they hit a couple threes, and they're right back in the game. So that was 2 tough stretches for us definitely during the game. Was about the 16-minute mark, and then right at the start of the second half.
Yeah, obviously a tough loss, but on a bright note, Stefan Stanic, usually known for his defense, chipped in 16 points. How much of a boost is that when he's putting in the points along with the steals and blocks at the other end?
It's huge, and I just talked about Maceo expanding his role from his freshman year to his senior year, and and we call him Steph. But Steph is, he kind of grew into a great defender for us the last year and a half. And now we've asked him to be a little bit more of an offensive threat. And he's always been a great offensive player. I think his confidence is getting better, so he'll continue to get better as the season goes on.
Well, finally, now that you're 3 games into the season, are there any points of emphasis going forward that you want to focus on?
There's a lot of points of emphasis. It just depends on where in the game. I always focus on defense, so I think there's things that you've got to be consistently solid on. And for the first 2 games, we did a really good job, guarding players, taking away 3-point shots. This last game, they had a great player, and the kid made his shot. So we've got to take away the number 1 option better. Sometimes that's easy to do, and sometimes it's not. But it's something that defensively we've got to. There's a team defense that we've got to continue to get better at it all the time. The other thing is we have guys in new roles offensively, and we have some new players, and just getting to know those new players and how they fit in and making everything run right. With 5 players on the floor, and then you'll have new guys that come in and out. Everybody's got to be functioning as one. So our focus is always, can we function as a defense as one unit, and can we function offensively as a unit as well, and just be able to, the ball's got to be the athlete on offense. On defense, we don't want to give them those easy points, and we're always trying to take that stuff away.
Well, Coach, it was great to sit down with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again.
We will go into depth more on the team's upcoming game against Ferris State later in today's episode. It is now time for us to take a quick break and join you back here shortly. Stay tuned. You're watching Courtside right here on AUTV. Welcome back to Courtside with AU men's basketball. I am currently joined by Eagles forward Maceo Williams along with Coach Ellenwood. Maceo, thank you for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
To hop straight into things, you individually are off to a great start to the season through 3 games, and you knew your number was going to be called a lot more with some key guys moving on after last year. Did anything change in your off-season preparation with your role increasing?
Nothing really. I mean, with those guys being gone, I knew what role I had to step into. I just continued to get in the gym, work myself out, and then that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And Coach, seeing Maceo's improvement over the years, you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but seeing it play into the first 3 games of the season, what has been your thoughts on his play so far?
It's been outstanding. He's always been a team-first player, and that's important if you're going to be the leader of the team. But I think he knows when it's time for him to perform, and we need him to perform at the level that he's capable of. He doesn't shy away from it, and that's a great feeling to have. His abilities show up at those moments.
So going back about a week ago, the game-winning buzzer beater against Grand Valley State. Firstly, I was curious: is that your first ever game-winning shot?
No, I had one back in high school, my junior year. So it's my second game-winning shot. So I've had 2 now. So
okay,
yeah.
And then Coach, that specific play, that box set at the end, was that the first time you guys had run that play, or had you practiced that before?
We practiced it in practice actually the day before, which is rare for that situation to happen in a game. But we practiced it, but honestly, we've never had to use it in a game. I don't think since you've been here. So but it worked out, and I think our point guard Duran threw a great pass, and Maceo had a great seal, and the other 3 guys did what they were supposed to do. So it worked out pretty good.
Now, along with that game winner, you also made some key plays down the stretch in Sunday's game in the loss, but including a couple clutch free throws down the stretch in the final seconds that tied the game. Now, for whatever reason, free throws haven't been able to go down at a consistent rate for you individually or as a team, but you seem to have a knock for knocking them down when the game matters. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just practice. The past 2 years, I wasn't very good at free throws. just staying out to practice, shooting a couple, that really contributes to what it shows in them clutch moments. So just practice.
Now, unfortunately, you guys weren't able to bring home the win on Sunday, but you did get off to a good start, 13-point lead in the first half. What do you think changed for you guys in the second half? We already talked to Coach about it a little bit, but what did you think changed?
Oh, like Coach said, we came out slow that second half. I think that's what really hurt us. We had a big lead, and we thought we were going to come up there, everything was going to be fine. We thought we had them, but as Coach said, IUP is a good team, and they never quit. So I thought we came up there. We weren't prepared for the second half. So.
Well, lastly, what are the expectations for you guys moving forward as you look to bounce back after that tough loss?
To continue to get better as a team. Obviously, the goal is to win, but just to get better as a team every day. Get guys more shots. That's really pretty much it. Just get better as a team, pretty much.
Well, Maceo, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
When we come back from this next commercial break, Coach Ellenwood will stay on the show. Stay tuned for Courtside with the AU men's basketball team right here on AU TV. Welcome back to Courtside with the AU men's basketball team right here on AU TV. Coach, it's time for the final segment of today's show. Before we dive into the upcoming schedule, we have to talk about this week's matchup against Ferris State. With the busy weekend you guys just had, how does it feel to just have one game this week?
It's always strange when you have one game just because all your effort is into that one game. We're used to having 2 games a week and having to balance who you're playing and what you need to prepare for with 2 different teams. So with one game, it makes it a little easier. Unfortunately, our opponent is a pretty good opponent, so it doesn't make it easier. So
right.
Ferris is an outstanding team. They went to the Elite Eight last year. They got a lot of experience back. So, it's a great opportunity for us if we can beat Ferris, and we know we have a team that can get to the regional finals.
So for the fans out there getting into that game, who should they be on the lookout for to stand out from the opening tip?
Well, for Ferris State, I mean, they have one of the best shooters in the country. I believe his number is number 21. His last name's Erickson, and he's a guy that can just fill it up. They have some great people around him, but that's a guy that you have circled on the scouting report.
All right, well, let's take a look at some other games down the road before we wrap up the show. When looking at the start of the season, a very home-heavy schedule throughout the next couple of weeks, how nice is it for you to not have to worry about any travel for the next 3 games?
That's important, especially this time of year academically, because our guys are finishing up the first semester. So the less you're on the road, the better it is, because it seems like classwork gets loaded, this time of year, and you don't want your guys to be, on the road trying to study but for us, we don't have a lot of really long road games, but sometimes you can at this time of year just because it's non-conference. So, it's important academically for us. And then, our guys, they can get rested up in their own beds, and, they eat the food they're used to. So all that stuff's important, and you just hope it plays into victories.
Absolutely. Well, last thing for you, Coach, what are you hoping to see from the fans on Wednesday's game?
I'm hoping they want to come out and cheer and just support these guys. We have a tremendous team, guys that you want to cheer for. So, you just saw Maceo, outstanding person, but every guy on our bench is a person that is easy to cheer for. So, come out here, support us, and get ready to watch a great basketball game because you got 2 regional giants going head to head.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to it. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
As a reminder, be sure to tune in to 88.9 WRDL for full live game coverage of Ashland University versus the Ferris State Bulldogs on Wednesday, November 20th, with tip-off set for 6 p.m. And if you want to hear more from the men's basketball team, tune into the Early Birds Word Tuesday mornings at 8:30 a.m. for exclusive coverage of the Eagles. I'm Miles Irvin saying thank you so much for tuning into Courtside right here on AUTV.